Good evening, viewers and listeners. I am Steffi Alfred, and you are tuned in to the second youth dialogue of the Run the Talk series, a series of dialogues aimed at providing youth with a platform to share the perspectives of...
No cataleya, don't put it in the bin. We're going to make compost.
Not everything is...
A campaign put on by the St. Lucia National Youth Council, and you can get involved. You too can get involved in this campaign and all other campaigns put on by the St. Lucia National Youth Council. And you could do that by following us on all our social media platforms. And yeah, so welcome everyone. Welcome. The topic this evening is economic empowerment through youth-led enterprise and job diversification. It's a heavy topic, but it will be an exciting one. I will be your moderator for this evening, and I have an exciting panel to really help bring this topic to light. We have individuals from the different spectrums of this particular entrepreneurial landscape. So it's very interesting to have you all here today. You are tuned into GIS NTN and on social media, and you're listening on Blazing Nation 99.3. So a big thank you to our sponsors, Marcy Stores and Invest in Lucia. And thank you for tuning in. Our panelists today, we have Dinel Florius, co-founder of Eco Carib. Thank you for being here with us. Right next to him, we have Jemima Harrigan, the owner and the creative director of House of Gem.
Yes.
Thank you. And last but not least, Javan Lewis, economist in the Ministry of Finance, the Research and Policy Unit. So thank you all three for being here today. And I look forward to having a fruitful discussion with you on this heavy, heavy topic. So we'll jump right into the discussion, and I will want you all to comment really on the status of youth, a status of the youth population as it relates to economic empowerment. So do you believe our youth have the ability to make these economic and financial decisions at this particular point in their life, which would basically lead to their growth and development? So give me your perspective. Tell me whether or not you think our youth are economically empowered. All right, so I'll start with you, Dinel.
Okay, no problem. Thanks again for having me here. And as it relates to the question, I believe that the youth, have never lived in a more powerful time. And right now, you have all the available tools to really make great things happen. But it's how you use those tools. And I believe financial education is lacking on how you can really go about to use the tools that you have access to. So this is something that I really believe should have been taught in school, but it wasn't. And people are really suffering because of it. So the youth have power, but whether they use it, that is yet to be determined.
Wow, thank you for that. What about you, Jemima?
Yeah, so I just want to add or look at what Dinel said in a different way. I think we have the potential to have, you know, the economic power, but I think that a lot of the youth are not aware of the tools that we have available to us. We are not educated from early on enough on things like financial literacy, you know, basic things like doing your taxes, investing, and all of these things should be taught at an earlier level to allow youth to have that when they get into the working field. And, you know, that would contribute to us having economic empowerment among our youth.
All right, great. And it's a good thing that the Lucia National Youth Council is putting on a campaign, a financial literacy campaign, really aimed at doing what you just said. But as you said, I believe that it should be taught in school. What about you, Javan?
Well, I believe when we look around St. Lucia and we see what the youth have been doing, like Mr. Florio said, the youth is living in an exciting time, a time where they could be very powerful. You have the best of tools. You have youth like yourself who empower themselves economically and have made the right decisions and choices. And I mean, you have on the other end of the spectrum, the youth that don't make those so much wise choices. And it's our duty as a society to develop the rest and in get them cultured in making these decisions, getting them educated from a young age on the stuff that you guys brought up. So I believe that just like in every other society, we have two ends of the spectrum, and there is always more that could be done.
All right, great. That was beautifully said.
Yeah.
So we often hear what you just said there, in terms of we go to school, we learn certain things, and we kind of put down a particular path. I hear young people say it all the time. We put down a particular path to become an employee as compared to an employer, right? So I want you, particularly the entrepreneurs at the seat right now, to really talk to me about, or talk to St. Lucia about what it really takes to become economically empowered, or what it took for you to become economically empowered, if you think that you're at that point right now, or whatever your path is. So just speak about that, speak about your experiences, whether or not it was conventional versus the unconventional route. So I'll hear from you, Jemima, first.
Okay, I would say I'm definitely on the unconventional route. I did start out in the conventional route. I don't know if many people know that about me, but I'll just mention I started a degree in biochemistry, and I didn't complete it, and the reason for that was I didn't want to put myself in a hole of debt to get this degree, and then to be restricted in what I can pursue, because I didn't want to contribute to the brain drain in St. Lucia and go abroad and use my education in that way. I wanted to come home, but then, you know, opportunities in that field were limited, and to me, it didn't seem like a smart financial decision to complete school and have that big amount of debt and then be working it off for 10, 20, 15 years, you know? So I sat and thought about what I could do, my other skills. Not everybody is so inclined, but I happen to be able to have, you know, that skill, the creative side of myself, be able to do stuff with my hands. So I used that skill and thought about what problem it is that I can solve, what market is it that I can tap into, and that is how I started my business. But that is why I started my business, I should say.
So you started conventional and you just took a U-turn.
Switched. Saw it wasn't working out, went left.
All right, so what about you?
My story is pretty similar, actually, because at first I wanted to go into the medical field, but then engineering literally called me out, and I actually started working pretty young. From like the age of 19, I worked with an engineering firm, so I got a lot of experience there. But the critical thing when you are young is to really make that decision. The decision to want better for yourself, and the decision to want better for your family, your friends, and your community. You understand? Once you make that decision, from there you can say, okay, what skills do I have that I can really impact the economy in a helpful way? So if I don't have any skills, what do I need to learn? What am I good at now, and can I improve on that? And from there, you can really create something remarkable. Now, as you move forward in life, you'll realize that you are not as great at something as you would want to be, but that's okay. All right? Everybody has to start somewhere, and people have a fear of moving forward because they feel like they're not good at what they really want to do. But nobody is ever born great. You have to make that decision to want to be great and keep pursuing it every single day to get to that point.
All right, great.
Definitely agree with that.
You agree?
Definitely
So
agree.
you two are entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And would you say that that in itself played a part in your economic empowerment? Or do you think that you're there at this point? Or do you think you're on the route to becoming?
I think I'm on the route to becoming.
You're on the route to becoming?
Route to becoming.
Do you think that entrepreneurship played that key role in that for you?
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Dina? You didn't really comment on that one. She spoke about the degree and her, you know, really wanting to not go in that direction because she thought it would be like a burden. But I want you to speak about the economic empowerment and how it has really impacted yourself and your family and the community around you.
Yeah, I think economic empowerment is not really a goal, but it's a journey.
Okay.
You understand?
Exactly, yeah.
So being economically empowered, a lot of people will say, oh, you have a lot of money, you can do whatever you want, but that doesn't bring happiness, you understand? And once you understand that, you realize that some people, like let's say Warren Buffett, he has all the money in the world, but yet still he does what he does. So some people will say he's regarded as economically empowered, but then he still goes to work every day. So what really is economic empowerment to you? And what do you want it for? So you have to find in yourself what you really want out of life, whether it's to have freedom to help as many people as possible. I myself, this was really one of my early goals, to create economic opportunities for the youth to really do great things. And that's what really we've been doing at EcoCarib. We have a really young team, and we're just helping them to really get to that next level of creativity and of greatness.
Okay, great. So generally, what do you see in St. Lucia in terms of entrepreneurs, in terms of people going down that path? Because I as a HEAF officer, as someone who works for entrepreneurs very often, I know that they, like you, would want to go down that route to become sustainable just for themselves, so that they feel like, you know, to join the journey of being economically empowered outside of a formal 9-to-5, or just doing whatever they want to do to really gain some type of income. So what do you see among your peers, or just taking a back step and just looking at St. Lucia and our youth? What do you see for entrepreneurship right now? Or comment on unemployment. Let's go, Jovan.
Well, to go back to the being economically empowered, I believe that, well, we always get criticized as economists for looking at things, you know, very, very granular and at the data. And for me, being economically empowered is taking that decision to actually not just survive or make ends meet, and wanting to do more. You made the decision to stop what it is that you wanted to do because you realize that financially it may not be the right decision, and that's already you being economically empowered because you made that decision, right?
Exactly.
So, so on that point of in St. Lucia and what we see for entrepreneurs, when you look around, you see so many different startups and products and interesting products being offered, and it warms my heart, honestly. I love to see it, but there is a segment of the youth, I believe, that could really deal or do with that entrepreneurial spirit, and it's not really their fault that they're not engaging or taking in that side. However, I believe that it's something that goes down to a culture, and something that should be integrated and social, and something we should be socialized to want to do from a young age, from the different levels of education. And a key part of that both of you guys mentioned is that a skill. Both of you guys realized that there was a skill that you could use, right? And it was because of that skill that your decision to do what it is that you have to do allowed you to be where you are today. So I believe that skills is something that we need to incorporate in our education system a little bit more. And I believe the youth in St. Lucia could really benefit from learning a skill or even more skills than they already know.
Okay, so just to add to what Jovan said, I think there's also a barrier in terms of the use of the skills, right? Because we have a social structure, and there's a stigma attached to people who use their skills in that way. I know I think it's ingrained in the Caribbean social structure, in our culture, to think that, you know, if you're not a doctor, lawyer, engineer, you know, a reputable.
You're working a 9-to-5.
Exactly. If you're not working a 9-to-5, it doesn't make sense. You know, it's not feasible. You get a lot of discouragement. There aren't a lot of resources available or if there are resources not widely publicized. Some people, you know, they have the knowledge, they have the talent, they may even have the want to, you know, to do something entrepreneurial, but they have no starting point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a major hindrance to the entrepreneurial society in the youth.
Great. So now that we're speaking about hindrances, right to my next question, what were some of your hindrances and how did you overcome them? I think our young people would love to know that.
Definitely.
Yeah, so let's start with you, Dinel.
All right. I had to overcome like many roadblocks.
Okay, let's say the top 4.
The
Give
top
me 4. Just mention them.
All right. The first one was that I knew nothing about energy when I started.
Okay.
Because being in the renewable energy industry, like, you know, you have a lot of people coming in from oil, coming in from different industries. I knew nothing. So I was like, okay, who knew what I wanted to learn, and can I connect with them to learn what they know? So that was the first decision that I had to make, and I had to look all over the internet, look all over St. Lucia to find a person who knew what I needed to learn. The second thing was really my fear, overcoming my own fear of what success really is, and to claim it, you understand? To really say, okay, I deserve to be successful, and I'm not fearful of what anybody else may think about me as I go through the process to be successful. Because a lot of people don't want to be seen starting at the bottom, and that's what stops them from really progressing. So overcoming that was another big hurdle. The next big hurdle for me was really connecting to the right people in higher places. And to get access to them, I really needed to look again all over the internet and apply for opportunities that were not necessarily in St. Lucia.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to really be brave to apply for those opportunities and hop on a plane, even though sometimes all you have is money for your hotel or whatever. If you get a grant from them to travel, when you reach there, you have to say, okay, how am I going to survive here? But you know, okay, I have to be at this place to connect with the right people to help me get to where I want to be. I'll figure out how I eat in later.
Sacrifices.
No sacrifice and risk.
Because of that, you can eat now.
Exactly.
So these were your hindrances. What about you, Jemima?
I would definitely say financing and connecting to the right people.
Networking.
Networking, because I mean we don't have a very prominent fashion industry in St. Lucia, and then there's not, or should I say, it's not easy for you to get financing, even a loan, grants, things that are not, you know, readily available. There are a few things and opportunities that are available to people, but again, not very widely publicized, and some of them that are available have such strict requirements that, you know, a lot of the young people just starting out cannot meet. Then, you know, they don't cater to people that are starting from level 0. Maybe if you know, you have made some progress in your business and you have gotten to a place where you can meet the requirements, you can take it further. But there's nothing for ground zero that I know of, I should say.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I can add to that as well.
yeah, you can go ahead.
Right, because I've gone through the process of raising capital in the Caribbean, and it was hard. You understand? There isn't a lot of patient capital in the region, and that is a problem because that is the money that we really need to span the gap to help ideas get to scale.
Come to fruition, yeah.
You understand? So that the bankers aren't investors.
I'm an investor. Hey.
Listen,
I'm an investment officer. So the Youth Enterprise Equity Fund, we do provide that level of access to capital for people, and through Invest St. Lucia, the boost, that is also there. But as you said, it's about publicizing it and getting it out there to the people who really need it. So,
But there are some requirements, right, for the youth fund.
when do we get back? All right, so we'll take a quick break and I'll come back to you. So thank you again for tuning in, everyone. You are listening to the dialogue on economic empowerment through youth-led enterprise and job diversification. You're listening to us on Blazing 99.3, and you're viewing us currently on GISNTN, on Facebook, and live. So thank you. We'll take a quick break.
Hi, I'm Louise Victor. Did you know that Mrs. Geraldine Rock was the pioneer for women joining politics in St. Lucia? Rock became St. Lucia's first member of parliament when she won the election for the Castries Southeast constituency in 1974. She was also the first woman to serve as a minister of government. And just like Mrs. Rock, we all have it within us to break those glass ceilings. We have it within us to be a woman of first. A woman of first for our families, our generation, for our countries, for our communities, for our constituencies. We have it within us to break those limitations and break those barriers that have existed for ages in our minds, societal-wise, or in many other ways. You have it within you, I have it within you, we have it within us to break those ceilings and to challenge ourselves, to step up in leadership and to step up in ways that we've been told that we cannot serve.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I know Jemima was talking, she's talking about the hindrances, right? That's what we were speaking of, the hindrances, some of them that she faced, and in terms of access to finance as being maybe number one.
Maybe number one, yeah.
So, continue.
Where did I leave off?
What was your experience?
Yeah, it's difficult to get a loan, difficult to get financing without meeting some set guidelines. For you to get a loan, you have to have some kind of collateral or, you know, some initial capital to secure your loan to begin with. You have to have a business plan set up. Some people may need help with that. Where do we go to get help to help us, you know, come up with a feasible business plan? You know, there are just a lot of small things that can be big things that we have no help with when if you're in the very, very initial stages of, you know, trying to put your idea into a business.
Yes, so the second part of that question was really how did you overcome that particular hindrance or that hurdle? So I'm coming to you. I'll let the two of you speak about it. I'll let Jemima go first, but in that, also answering a question that we just got in from Shakim, asking about the role your academic education really played versus your experience in really getting to where you are today.
Okay, so I wouldn't say that my academic knowledge played a big role because I was in STEM, right? And right now I'm doing creative design. In terms of business, I had no idea like what I was doing. In the beginning, I was fortunate that, you know, I have an older brother and sister. One is in marketing, the other one is in tech. They were able to advise me and help me, you know, put my ideas on paper, financial advice for things that they have gone through because they're older, you know, things that I wouldn't even know where to go to ask for help. So I was fortunate in that sense. And also, I had a normal 9-to-5 before I started this. And so because I knew that's the direction I wanted to go, I saved my money and used that as capital to start my business. Some people don't have that chance to do that, you know? So I could see how it would be very difficult for somebody else. I mean, I'm not saying that it was easy for me because even using those things and having those resources available to me, it was very difficult to get to where I am today. But I could see how it would be more difficult for somebody just starting out with no support, with no knowledge of those resources, and no, you know, just no starting point.
Yes. What about you, Dana?
Yeah, so for me, I was a science boy at St. Mary's College. Shout out to all my college alumni. And essentially, this really helped me like to understand what I do today, like the physics of energy and everything. It's really important because, again, you're dealing with electricity. If you do something wrong, somebody can blast off a roof.
Wow.
Or a building can burn down. So it was really important to understand the core principles behind what I was doing, and that really directed the way that I do what I do, because I understand exactly at its smallest state what is happening. In regards to the capital question, first you have to save your money. So if you're working and you're young, don't party every weekend, don't blast. If you have a dream, you save towards that dream. And you're not saving for saving's sake, but you're saving to invest in your future self. And a lot of young people need to understand this, and don't be quote-unquote pamele, because that never helps anyone. You understand? So I saved some money. It wasn't a lot of money, it was a little bit, but that allowed me to put it into something that I can invest in myself. So I paid for some courses to learn about the industry, improve my skills, like I said before. And then from there, I started a little business consultancy, and I got some traction, got some clients. They gave me some more money. I did not spend the money. I saved that money too. And I reinvested that money back into the business and back into myself first, because I needed to improve my skills.
That's right.
Then when my skills improved, I got more clients and I saved the money again. And I invested it back into the business now and invested in other systems in the business. Then I got more money and I invested it into the business again.
It's discipline.
Takes a lot of discipline
That's what I mean,
and
discipline,
sacrifice.
Because people think when you make money from a business, oh, that's my money, and I can spend it how I want.
Exactly, but if you have a goal of expanding the business, you need money to expand the business. You need resources to expand the business. Where is that coming from? What you make, you have to put it right back into your business, barely paying yourself a livable wage.
Yes.
So it's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of discipline to, if you want, you know, to make that improvement in yourself and in your business.
All right, great.
It's true. And from that point, when you have that type of discipline, and if you need more money from outside people, like a bank, like an investment firm, let's say an angel investment firm, or a venture capitalist, or another bigger company or competitor, they will say, you are very disciplined,
They see that.
and I can trust you with my money. Because you trust yourself with your own money, and you were disciplined in how you used it. So I can trust you with mine.
I think our young people listening will be very, very grateful for what you're saying here today. Hearing it from young people is different.
Yes.
You hear it from a banker who says, you need to present this, you need to save this.
Oh,
they
yes.
hear it as, oh, you're fighting me down. But hearing it from young people who've gone through it,
Well,
it's very important that they hear that. So,
I want to ask this, Steffi, they will say you're fighting them down. But I can see why they would have that mentality, right?
I know.
Because an important thing about presenting your finances and showing them that you're disciplined and that you have been reinvesting that money into your business is bookkeeping and having physical evidence of your cash flow and, you know, what you allocate the different funds to, that you in a way that you can present to them and that they can see that. Some people, like when I just started out, what is accounts?
But
I mean, you know, I had my basic income outcome, which is a good place to start because I did secondary school accounts. So I had that
see, your
basic
academics.
general knowledge,
go.
right? But then what if I didn't have that? You know,
Wow.
you could just be spending, making, putting it back, but they cannot see that.
It's
How
true.
can they know? So you have to have resources to help them to put it, you know, record it in a way that if they present it to a financial institution or to an investor, they can see, yes, this is what is happening, and so I can trust you with my money.
Yes. So thank you for that contribution. I want to just take a little step, moving on to another part of this broad topic, this very heavy topic,
Yep.
which looks at diversification. I want to give Giovanna some time to speak here. So I'm going to ask you a question. I need Giovanna to answer, and any one of you. So we're looking at diversification, right? And I want to get an understanding of whether or not you believe that economic diversification should drive job diversification or job creation within an economy. So do you believe economic diversification which is really whether or not you believe that the government should be the ones to invest in a particular sector, and then that would then drive the jobs that come out of that of the economy, or do you believe the other one? Do you believe that you young people going into industries, which I would say it's not a heavily invested industry or sector in St. Lucia, but you're going into that industry and then creating jobs for yourself, that should happen to then drive out and create a broader economic sector. Right, Javan?
Well, you see, Steffi, the thing is that we keep speaking about economic diversification and job diversification. However, we fail to realize that what we already have is already lacking. All right? So, but it is important to diversify in everything it is that you do. That would spread out your risk. However, it is not just a public sector objective. It shouldn't just be a public sector objective. It goes to the mantle of the private sector as well. All right? Because what we have here, and people would say that the tourism sector is the main sector of the economy and we should diversify. But for me, let's get a way or find a way that our other sectors and the linkages between tourism and our other sectors can be strengthened, right? So by doing so, you get the other sectors being pulled up by that main sector, right? So you strengthen these linkages, and through that, you get the sectors developing, and you get persons would then want to go into these sectors. Now, in terms of
pick a side, yes.
Right. In terms of the private sector now, I really believe that our industries should be looking on the global scale and seeing where the world is moving into. You have things like AI, you have things like virtual intelligence, artificial intelligence, you
computer
have
science, machine learning.
Right. 3D printing and what have you.
Right.
So I believe that in diversifying, we should ensure that our economy is adaptable to moving in that way and in the future, and that will allow us to take advantage of not only our domestic growth, but also the growth on a world scale, because that's where the world is moving into. So let's grow with the world. Don't stay behind. Let's grow, and that's on the private sector just as well as the public sector. Of course, I'm not putting blame on any one side or responsibility.
Not blame,
yeah, responsibility. so
I definitely
believe,
agree with Javan.
Yeah,
it should be a collaborative effort, and we should be looking to diversify in terms of where the world is moving and not trying to play catch up.
Yes.
Yeah. So we should be growing with the direction of where the global market is going, and not, constantly trying to play catch up.
Yeah. And the job of government is not to directly invest in people, but to create the environment for innovation to happen.
Is that happening for you?
And that is the job and the role of the government. Not to give handouts to people, but to create the framework that is necessary for you to do amazing things.
That's right. That's right.
I agree.
That's the conducive environment for our entrepreneurs. And when you guys speak of the constraints like the financial help and going to the financial institutions, on the part of government in a regulatory setting, there are different legislations that could be put in place that would allow for that to be easier on entrepreneurs. I think some time ago we were working on a movable assets bill.
Yes.
So you have persons who would have stock, however they would not have capital to use as collateral. So that stock could now be used as collateral. Right. You also have the credit reporting bill, which I think that would have been passed in the House some months ago. And there is an effort on a Eastern Caribbean level where you have a credit bureau that will be in place. So that will allow for young entrepreneurs to now have a credit rating and a credit score. You guys spoke of discipline, right? If you are so disciplined and you have a good credit score, it will be even more easier for you to get that financial help from a financial
Right.
institution, right? Also, you have things in terms of the financial institutions themselves should be tailoring products to fit the needs of our youth who want to invest. These products should be tailored to fit the youth. And as much as you said bankers are not investors, however, it is to their advantage if they do so. Sometime last year, myself, Mrs. Davina Andrew Maffray, Mr. Kimbert Evans, and Mrs. Myra DeLise, we did a research paper on the relationship between credit and GDP. And what we saw is that a 1% increase in credit, right? A 1% increase in credit would influence a 1% increase in GDP. So you could just imagine.
1-to-1
One
ratio.
to
You
one
could just
ratio.
imagine, right? And there's also a bidirectional relationship between credit and GDP. So in the short run, you have credit affecting GDP, and also in the long run, you have it the other way around. In the medium term, sorry, you have it the other way around, where your GDP now affects your credit. So it is to the advantage of the bankers, who you said are not investors, to actually invest in themselves by investing in our youth.
Yep.
So we should have products that are tailored to suit our youth in our financial institutions. Yep.
Spoken like a true economist. All right. I didn't appreciate the answer. I wanted from Jeff, and I wanted a more direct answer. But I agree with what you did say. It must be a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
But as you said, tourism for many people, tourism is that main income generator for St. Lucia and a lot of other countries, right? But I want to hear from you directly. Do you think that we should go down the route of, well, no, I know you think we should go down the route of diversification,
Right.
but the question is, do you think that there's a particular sector that is overlooked? And why do you think that particular sector is overlooked?
Honestly, I don't like this topic. but I think as St. Lucians, we've seen what the agriculture sector did for us.
I'm not just speaking agriculture.
Yeah, I know. I'm just putting it into context, right? We've seen what the agriculture sector has done for us when we talk about green gold and the banana industry, and due to certain consequences and you know that fell through, and the tourism sector took up that mantle. So we are emotionally attached to the agricultural sector, right? So I understand that. So I believe just like things are adapted, our economy should adapt. That's why we spoke about diversification. And I believe that the tourism sector took up that mantle, and they led the growth in our economy for some time. But like I said, the issue is not about a particular sector being the main sector, right, Steffi? It's about the sectors having strong linkages, and our economy and our people being adaptable, our sectors being adaptable to what's to come.
And tourism is doing that.
On a global level.
They are actually they are initiatives. You have the renewable energy initiatives that some of the hotel properties are taking up. There is also something called virtual hospitality, or something of that sort, where persons who come in, they check in themselves through an app on your phone. So there are ways that all sectors could move and be adaptable. So yes, they are doing it, Stephanie.
Great, thank you for that answer. What about the two of you? Any particular sector or group of sectors you think maybe overlooked in St. Lucia? How do you feel about that? I know you're in sectors, you just said that, it tends to be difficult for capital. Do you think it would be better if you would go down the path of a particular sector?
I may be biased, but listen, I'm all for renewable energy to really be more empowered, especially in a smaller and developing state that pays so much for outside fuel. All that is money leaving the country, and the government should really do a much better job in supporting this sector, because every single business, every single person on the island is affected by energy, whether that be from the car you drive, cooking your food, or powering your house or your business.
All right. So hold that thought. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will dive a bit more into diversification and job diversification. So thank you for listening. We'll be right back.
Good day, everyone. That's your boy, Boss Cattle here, representing for St. Lucia National Youth Council and the Electoral Department. Basically, to after the campaign, where they're trying to boost the turnout of the youth at the next general election. As we all know, election is around the corner, so why wait? Now is the time to educate and raise awareness of the do's and the don'ts, and what you have to do, and how our vote go make a difference. Don't stay home and say, guys, I'm voting, all them people is same thing. Nah, trust me. The youth vote is the one that'll make the difference. They're not politically fitted, they not tell you SLP or UWP, none of that. You make your choice, but do the right choice and do it the right way. You can follow the pages on Instagram. All the information is there, upcoming activities, or whatever questions or queries you have, you can DM them and they'll get back to you. So don't forget, St. Lucia National Youth Council, they're here for us to help us vote the right way. Boss Cattle endorse.
Thank you, and welcome back to Run the Talk. We're running the talk on economic diversification, youth-led enterprise, and we're going to continue with a contribution by, do you remember you?
Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah,
I thought he wasn't done.
Oh, you?
I'm done. I made my point.
Yeah, I was just saying, computer science, IT, you know, the tech world, that could be another good point of diversification, because that's also where the global market is moving. And that's something that doesn't have to be limited to St. Lucia only. You know, we could, those are products that we could put out globally, even though the source is from, you know, our youth people, the creation of apps, machine learning, the development of algorithms and things like those things. I mean, it's not my field house, but, so I can't speak in depth on you know, how that would work, but that's something that, you know, people could look into. I know a lot of my peers that are into coding and computer tech and all of those things that feel that St. Lucia doesn't have the support that they need for them to go further with that. So that could be something that we look into when we're considering diversification.
So again, you think, you know, that support needs to kind of come from the top and then trickle down. I'm just asking.
I think it has to be a collaborative effort, yeah? So like Javan was saying, you know, there has to be policies and things in place that will regulate the products and the things that the financial institutions can offer us. Like Daniel was saying, it's not a government's role to give handouts, but they can support in the way of policy.
Yeah, but it's very important to note that these things are these are areas that are very, I wouldn't say education based, but there should be a lot more education around it, right?
Right.
They should have the avenues for young persons that want to pick up coding or want to pick up artificial intelligence or any of these fields to at least have a place where they could sign up and learn these things. And it is the responsibility of any administration to actually do that for their people.
Right.
I believe that coming from a labor force skills survey, and speaking to investors who are willing to invest in a country and find out the skills it is that they are looking for from a workforce, right? And taking these things into consideration into your education sector,
System,
right?
definitely.
So you educate your people, you educate your people are your greatest resource. So by educating your people and giving them that skills that the investors are looking for, you are able now to even attract more investment into your country, and that will develop not only the economy, but the persons themselves and the youth, more especially the youth.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a statement here. I think it's more of a statement by Jürgen Montut. And he says that government should focus on facilitating business, making it easy to start and conduct business at a local level. It makes it easier for individuals to innovate. Diversification will come organically.
I think that gave the conversation a boost. But what he's saying is very true, because that facilitating environment is what we need. So when you have processes of opening a business, processes of incorporating a business, processes of starting up a business, it cannot be too time consuming and too tasking, especially for young persons.
It's true.
So we have to allow that to be attractive to young persons.
Right.
Allow young persons to have easy access to these things, and for it not to be a drawn out process where they quote unquote lose taste. Because the youth will be the youth. I know we always say we don't say that, but some persons don't have the as much discipline as others would have to go through these processes, right? So we have to adapt to our youth, I believe, and I believe that these processes on a whole, not only for the youth, but for the general business sector or the general entrepreneurial sector, that would improve the entrepreneurial environment in St. Lucia.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
However, as I stated, right, so opportunities do exist. So there is a question. This is not coming from me. So someone asked to the entrepreneurs, how do you feel about equity investment versus debt financing?
I like that question.
Go ahead.
Reason being, because I've gone through the process of raising equity capital in the Caribbean. Like I said before, it's extremely difficult to do because of the lack of patient money. The reason I said bankers were not investors, because bankers are very risk averse to startups. You understand? A startup to a banker is like a hot potato. And you never know who's going to get it and where is it going to drop, because people don't want to hold it in their hand for too long. So the thing about it is that I believe in equity investment. And in the region, you have most of that equity investment happening in Jamaica. And over 65% of the equity investment in the Caribbean happens in Jamaica. After Jamaica, it's Trinidad. Then everybody else averages out at 4% each. So it balances out in that way, but as you can see, it's really not enough capital being put into equity investments. And equity investment is a way for people to really get to that next level in their business. Because for us, it really made a massive difference. And it allowed us to get over something called the chasm of death, which is where startups go to die. You understand? And without that patient equity capital, it is impossible to jump that. And that is what we really need in the region. People need to start putting their money in land, in acres of land somewhere, and pump some of it back into the youth.
Yes, Jemima.
I don't really have anything to add except to talk about
Which one do you prefer?
equity investment, definitely. Like you were saying, most startups fail within the first two years, within the first year, in the first 2 years. So equity investment is a way to bridge that gap, because if you have debt, the profit you make going towards paying that debt, and then you move nowhere. So I definitely agree with everything that he said.
But that is not to discourage.
Yes, I mean,
right?
That's not to say that it's impossible to be successful without equity investment, but it makes it easier.
Definitely.
Makes it easier.
I will add, using debt as a startup, you have to be extremely disciplined. even more so, because you have to ensure that your margins are high enough for you to repay that debt, and that your cash flow is consistent enough so that the bank will not be calling you every month. And you also have to understand that usually debt is used to get to that next level. So if you really want to take your business to another level, let's say you're between the range of 100K to 500K in revenue, and you want to go to 1 million, you want to go to 5 million, then you can really leverage debt to do so, because you already proved yourself, you proved your cash flow, you have your customer base, you know you're getting a certain amount of money in every month, so it's less of a risk for you to take on debt, and it's less of a risk for the bank to give you debt.
Because you know you can pay it back, and you have sufficient, you know, money when you do your profit margins to pay off the debt and move forward.
All right, great. I like that you both said equity. I'll be giving you a call. Moving on, so I'd like to kind of focus on COVID-19, right? What did it do to you? Did it alter your view on anything as an entrepreneur? And even from an economic perspective, Javan. So I would like Jemima to go first.
I think it pushed everybody to reevaluate how they do business and what they can do to reverse the effect that it had on their business. So for me, I think it pushed me to do something that I was lingering on, which is putting up my website and giving people better access to me on a global level, because now you can go on the site and order and I can ship anywhere. Before that, let me just talk a little bit about how it affected me. So my business is design. I design swimsuits, carnival wear, lingerie, stuff like that. So COVID-19 was devastating to my business, because there were no events, no carnival events, no beach limes, nothing for people to really wear and show off their swimsuits. Yeah. So and it was more on a local scale, few regional customers here and there that I got through social media. But I think it really pushed me to think of how can I reach a wider market? How can I sustain my business with barely any income? So I think it affected everybody in a different way, but it also pushed everybody to think of ways to innovate and different ways to do their business, I would say.
What about you, Dina?
For us, being in energy, which is something that everybody needs, the global markets will show that we weren't really affected by COVID. We actually improved during COVID. Reason being because people realized that we need to be online and we need to be more efficient in our operations. And to be online, we need electricity. We need more electricity to run servers or whatever they have to do to improve their operations. So that increased the consumption. Internally as a business, we grew through COVID, because I believe that when you are tested, that shows who you really are as an entrepreneur, because that is your job. That is who you are at your core. And really, when the pressure is on, that's when it really determines what you're made of. So what we did was that we diversified our product offerings into incorporating other things in the transportation sector, like for electric vehicle charging. And we also made some great partnerships that allowed us to do so and allowed us to operate not just locally, but regionally as well. So using those things, using those strategies, again, you have to tap into your network to really say, okay, COVID has hit, I'm a bit impacted. Who do I know that I can partner with to help me achieve something better and grow through COVID? because it's always about your network. Your network is your net worth. You will hear this a million times, but it's absolutely true.
Definitely.
And working with them had allowed us to take things to another level. When everybody was slowing down, we offered our clients more opportunities for them to save money on their energy, and we take them from level 1 all the way up to level 20. And that has really helped us improve. And getting access to money was also a great advantage, because we had gotten partnerships with people who have capital available, and that is really helping us help our clients, because they can now say, okay, our revenue is down, but we can come in and we can finance solutions for you that can help improve your margins and kind of cancel out the losses that you made during COVID.
So it's really, it's either growth or it's crumble. You had to decide which one you were going
exactly.
to do.
Had to.
Grow or die.
What resources do you have available that you can use now to push forward? What
Remember, I really need to talk to you after this. We need to have a serious conversation after this.
Sure.
Yes, so Javan, what about you? I know that, you know, in terms of youth and unemployment, the statistics, and I know it, and even, you know, poverty levels and all these things, I knew it grew, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, the youth unemployment have been in the region of around, let's say, 38, 36%. We went, I think, in 2018, 2019, we went down to about 34%, if I recall correctly. And 2020 happened. COVID happened, and we're back up to, I think last I checked was 38.2% in youth unemployment. And that speaks volumes to where it is that our youth are employed. Again, we go back to the tourism sector, right? Where it is that our youth are employed, and our youth have been impacted in a very big way when we look at the various sectors that were impacted. However, what COVID has allowed us to realize is that these same sectors and markets that we were speaking on earlier, in terms of your AI and your virtual intelligence and what have you, these things came as more of a necessity in these times. And I believe that, you know, the old cliche that everything happens for a reason, I think that has pushed our people to move towards these markets and get the taste, right, for these things, and for we saw persons having to diversify their business, you know, turning things and you know, delivery and so much going on. So I believe that I mean, we know what it did to our youth unemployment rate. We know what it did to our youth, and I believe that even more focus should be put on getting the youth more skilled and more educated to be rehired, not only just for the tourism sector, but for the other sectors moving forward.
Yeah, so my next question is somewhat along those lines, in terms of what is your belief on the current status of youth involvement as it relates to enterprise development, national development. I want you to comment on that in terms of entrepreneurship, because I know that a lot of our youth, they became unemployed, yes, because of COVID-19 in terms of tourism. And we saw a lot of them going into what we may see as startups, but you know, then we ask ourselves, is it that they're doing this right now to survive? Or is it, you know, is it from necessity? Or are they looking to become entrepreneurs? So what is your take on the involvement of our youth right now in terms of enterprise development and even national development, in terms of what is your involvement in terms of that? So go ahead.
Okay, so I think this entire pandemic have forced the youth into a different mindset. And they view things a lot differently now because they have to. I can't survive if I don't think differently. And those who don't think differently, you can see they're very mentally drained, and they feel like they can't really survive or get to that next level. But those who do change that mindset are the ones who become more creative and say, okay, I was fired from my job. What can I do to make something happen? And then by doing that, they really find themselves and find who they are and realize, wow, I'm really good at doing this thing. Thank God I lost my job.
Like, why was I working at 9 to 5 if I can do that? Yes, so I agree with what he said. I think initially a lot of them moved towards the startups out of necessity. It was a do or die situation because you need money to survive. You need to work to survive. They don't have any jobs because tourism was at a halt. What can they do? What skills do they possess that they can use to do something? And then from doing that, they're like, oh, but if I can do this, why was I doing that before? You know? So I think it definitely initially came out of necessity. But I think now that helped them to realize the other avenues or things they did not consider before.
Okay, so you don't think our young people will revert to working a 9 to 5? What's your belief?
I mean, I think not everybody is built to be an entrepreneur. So I definitely think that, you know, some people will revert to working a 9 to 5, but there are some people, maybe they just needed that extra push to go from A to B, and now they're at B. That's
true.
it for them.
Okay, multiple streams of income is always a good thing.
That
so
too. Nothing says the two have to be mutually exclusive. Okay, you can work a 9 to 5 and still be an entrepreneur.
It's
Exactly.
true.
I like to think of it as a table. So a table cannot stand on one leg.
Right.
So if that one leg was your job and you lost your job, your table is flat on the floor. But if you have 2 legs, if you have 3 legs, 4 legs, these are streams of income that you have now. So when things pick up and you go back to work, you can still do what you were doing during COVID to survive as a part-time thing, to have another leg on your table.
Yeah, lessons to be learned.
All right, great. So we'll take a break and then I'll hear Javan's input on that particular topic. All right, so thank you. You're listening to Run the Talk, a series put on by the St. Lucia National Youth Council, Value in the Vote campaign. We'll be right back.
No cataleya, don't put it in the bin. We're going to make compost.
Not everything is meant to be thrown away. Even the scraps from today's lunch or dinner can be used to improve soil fertility in our home or backyard garden to make compost. Fill up to 3/4 a perforated container big enough to collect a week to a month's mixture of kitchen scraps, along with some dried leaves, grass, and dirt. Not everything should be composted. Turn the material thoroughly 3 days weekly for the first 4 weeks and thereafter every 2 weeks until there is no sign of vegetation, but instead an odorless, dark brown, soil-like material. The compost can be used in garden beds, flower pots, planters, etc. For further information, contact the St. Lucia Solid Waste Management Authority.
All right, so thank you and welcome back to Run the Talk. And as I said, this is a series really aimed at providing young persons with a platform to be able to speak on youth and national issues. So, Javan, what about you in terms of your involvement with national issues and your peers? Do you think we're at a good place? And if not, then what can we do?
Well, I certainly believe there is more that can be done in terms of getting the youth involved in the development of policy, getting the youth involved in different initiatives that are to be taken, because it affects the youth, I think, larger than any other demographic. We the youth are part of probably the largest demographic or age demographic in the country. So I believe that more consultation with the different youth groups. You have your St. Lucia National Youth Council, you have your different other youth councils on the constituency levels. I do believe that they should be even more involved in matters of different policies that are to be put in place, because when it comes to business, when it comes to policy, you have to take into consideration your stakeholders. And one of your major stakeholders would be the persons who are affected the most.
Yes.
And I mean, by majority, the youth have that cross to carry, unfortunately, but very fortunately that we have the power, like you said. So, so I believe that that's some more involvement in consultation when it comes to policy. And I believe that youth should themselves speak up. You have your platforms, you have your Twitter, you have your Facebook, you have your Instagram. Use it. We use it for everything else. We could use it to give our take as well on the things that are happening around us. So
also to keep informed.
There you go.
On the things that are happening, and to educate yourself so that you can contribute valid, points to the conversation.
Yeah.
I agree with what was said. I mean, it's really profound in that regard because, like I said before, we live in a special time and young people grab it, take advantage of it, and really pave the way for you to do great things for the community and for St. Lucia, for the Caribbean, and for the world.
Yeah, so in speaking up, do you fear victimization? Duran, it's funny.
Yeah, because it's funny because I mean, like, I think it happens especially in our, I think it's in our Caribbean culture. The fact that we are so small, the fact that everyone knows each other, we know everyone, right? So it's easy to get tagged as being politically affiliated.
Right.
Right? It's easy to be tagged when you speak out on certain things. Right? So unfortunately it's something that the youth in St. Lucia has to go through. But I am a firm believer of expressing your views, whatever your views may be. There isn't no wrong or right view in my opinion. It's your view. Stand firm, right? Stand firm in what it is that you believe, and let your views be heard. But unfortunately, it's the reality, and it's something that I don't believe we might get over anytime soon. But I mean, the force is with the youth.
The force is with the youth.
Yeah, so to add to what Javan was saying, we are a very politically driven society, and if you express your opinion, it's very easy for people to class you with one side or the other, and that makes people reluctant to voice their opinions because they don't want to get labeled as one or the other. But like he was saying, I don't think that you should ever be afraid or censor yourself in terms of expressing your opinions, because that is how we're going to bring about change.
That's true.
If there's no contribution to the conversation, if there's nothing, nothing new to discuss, no innovation, it will stay the same.
Yep.
So even from a business and an entrepreneurial perspective, and trying to climb that ladder and climbing that ladder, was there ever that point in time where you felt that you stepped on a particular toe that you should not have?
Fortunately, not yet.
Okay, I stepped on many toes.
Wow.
How did it feel?
Oh, wow.
And
You must have big feet.
apparently, the thing about it is that when I started, it was really hard to get access. So you'd have like closed off government meetings and meetings with other stakeholders in the industry. And like I wasn't necessarily invited to it, but I really needed to learn because the information they had, I needed to improve and to get to where I wanted to be. So I used to sneak into their meetings.
Oh, wow.
And I got kicked out of a few.
Wow.
But after a while, they began to remember my name. And some people may see that as, oh my God, they know me now. I was like, yes, they know me now. So the thing about it's all about perspective. You understand? And like you can look at it as from an area of fear or from an area of facing everything and overcoming it and saying like, listen, because they know me, I now have access. And I can use my access to make a difference, not just for me, but for my peers and every single person who comes after me.
Right.
So your suggestion to young people, step on toes.
Step on toes.
And going to meetings that you're not supposed to be at, huh?
Just step into the meetings that you...
Face things head on, you know, don't limit yourself because you're afraid of the outcome.
Yeah.
Typical example, sneaking into the people's meetings.
Yes,
But I mean, you know,
yeah, go ahead.
there are just some things that you need to do. That is how he gained access to the conversation, and that is how he'll be able to make a difference. That is how he has been able to gain a voice, to contribute something. Because you need access to be able to make a difference. If you have no access, you will not be able to make a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on that note, we often hear that, you know, the youth, that we are the future. What does that statement do for you? Knowing that you're the future and you may not be the present.
Well, you can be the future and the present at the same time, huh?
It's true.
I mean,
How
just
do you
like
feel about that, Javan?
I mean, just like life, you know, you know that saying, once an adult, twice a child. Things evolve. So yes, the youth is the future. However, we're here right now. Take us into consideration now. But yes, the youth is the future, as in let's put these building blocks to allow our youth to propel in the future. So I believe I actually love the saying that the youth is the future, because by investing in your youth, by taking your youth into account, their views into account, I believe you're building them up and you're propelling them to the future. And I believe that it just depends on how you take the phrase. And I believe that's the way it should be taken.
How do you take it, Dina?
The way I take it is that the youth have power now, and you should allow them to express that power. And yes, the youth are the future, but whose future are they? You understand? And that's a deep question. That's something, are the youth going to be living in the future, in my future, which is my present, or are they going to be living in their future that they create? So give them the power to create their future.
Yes.
I don't think there's much that could be said after that.
Yes, I have nothing to add.
Yeah, so thank you guys. Thank you so much for your contribution so far. So as it relates to the development of your businesses, right? So was there any point in time where you just felt like just giving up?
Many times.
Many times, right?
Many
so speak to the youth of St. Lucia today, because I know that a lot of young people are going through particular points in the development of their business where, as you said, it's difficult to access finance and it's difficult to access resources, but they need that type of encouragement from people who are doing it or people who have done it. So
I would say I would say it's just, you know, it's a mindset and you have to persevere. And I think it helps if you have a really strong support system, because otherwise I am not sure that I would still have a business. So that I am fortunate that I have a really good support system, I would say, and that has helped me to keep going, to persevere. Because if you have a dream in mind and you believe in your dream, you shouldn't it's human nature. You know, you're going to have low points, but you have to remember that you have a goal and you can reach your goal. It's possible. So you just keep going.
what about you?
And for me, I'm a very faith-driven person. So in the book of Habakkuk in the Bible, it says, write the vision and make it plain, and you will achieve it if you do not give up. So do not give up. All you have to do is 1% every single day. At the end of the year, you will be 47 times better than you are. You'll be 365%. And that is what you call exponential growth.
That's
so
right.
At first, you will see that nothing is really happening. But then after a while, it starts to swing up in your favor. So don't give up before you start to swing up.
Amen.
And have patience. Slow growth is still growth.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as young entrepreneurs, what is your view on a youth-led business? In terms of you leading your business, you're the boss, you're the owner, you're the founder, co-founder. What is your view on that as compared to that of a business of a more, I don't want to say experienced, but an older individual? What do you think are the benefits as compared to you owning a business? Jovan can answer that question.
All right. For me,
you can.
For me, it really allows you to be creative and to create the future that you want to see, like I said before. You can make up the rules that you want to see. So let's say for me, I really believe in youth being empowered economically. And that's why a lot of our team are young people under the age of 35. So knowing this and leading by that example as a young person who is doing something great and trailblazing, that allows other young people to say, listen, if he can do it, I can do it too. And that really encourages them to want to do something amazing and do something great. And the team themselves, they really want to shout out to everybody that, listen, we're young like you, but we're just using the resources that we have access to in a different way. You can do it too. And
innovation.
That is really the heart of it.
The heart of it, yes.
Innovation. I think that might be what would set us apart from a business run by somebody older who already set in their ways, who have a one-track mind, who see things a certain way. The youth are more inclined to be innovative. So I think that's a big advantage in having a youth-led business.
And sometimes bankers may see it as a bigger risk.
Wow.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, Jovan.
But just like they said, it's these characteristics that the youth have, especially in a business today, especially in a business during COVID. What they would have had to do, which was very important, is adapt, innovate, be creative, and these are things that are associated with the youth. The youth are much more capable of being innovative and creative. I'm not saying that there isn't older persons who are not, but the youth have that creative spark that could allow them to be innovative in terms of guiding a business through that kind of time and allowing that business to adapt. And I believe even more so than ever, that's when we actually saw that a youth-led enterprise would actually be the thing that somebody would most want. So I believe that there is a place for it, and I believe that moving forward, also the businesses should encourage the young persons to move up and take that mantle and allow their creativity and innovation to come to fruition and lead them to places that they never thought they would be.
Yeah. They should channel all that youthful energy.
Youthful resource.
But sometimes do you feel like the fight down is real?
Well.
Perseverance.
Well, I mean, especially in the public sector, in my, I wouldn't say my department, but my ministry, I'm considered a baby compared to the persons who are around me. But I wouldn't say it's fight down. As long as you hold your own and you show that you are capable of doing what's needed, you earn that respect.
Do you think it's more difficult for young people, though, to actually earn that respect and...
Well, of course, yes. And we have, persons have this mentality that because you're young, you're probably inexperienced and you understand?
You don't know, and you don't have the knowledge.
Right. So that necessarily isn't the case.
Yeah.
Right? So, and we have young persons who are actually very much more capable than the older persons to do it. And I believe that view should be something that should stay in the past. And moving forward, we should really just incorporate our youth. As long as you can do it, as long as they're capable, give them that respect.
Yeah, so you judge them on their capabilities rather than your perception of them, you know, because they're a young person.
That's right.
Don't be intimidated. Allow them to help you.
How do you
Yes.
see us breaking that chain, that issue?
Well, I can't say how we can break it, but us as young people, we should really ensure that whatever it is that we do, wherever it is that we are, that we let our skills, we let our capabilities speak for themselves. As much as they might say, boy, you're young, you know, but let's show them that not because that I'm young that I can't do it, and then you'll earn their respect. So I believe that when you get more persons and more young people doing that, I believe there's some way that it can change, but it will be really tough because it's a culture thing. It's a socializing thing, and it's ingrained in our people that because you're young you don't know what you're talking about, or because you're young, you know, you might be
seem inexperienced. You don't have the knowledge. You're not as serious.
But let's prove them wrong, young people.
Definitely.
That's all.
Let's prove them wrong.
Yep.
All right, so we're coming to the end, unfortunately. It has been a very interesting conversation. So what I want to do right now is just allow each of you some time for closing remarks, just to speak on your takeaways or your advice to the youth or your advice to policymakers generally. Remembering that the topic is economic empowerment through youth-led enterprises and job diversification. I know it's a lot, but you can probably zoom on one aspect of this broad conversation, and to just maybe provide some input in terms of towards policy or just advice to young people. So we'll start with Jemima, and then we'll go to the two gentlemen.
Final statement. I would say stay relevant so you don't become irrelevant. Keep up to date with what's going on. Keep up to date with how you can contribute to policy, how you can sway it in your favor, what you can do to influence it to go in the direction that you want. Yeah, and just keep up with, on a global scale, what it is that we need to do moving forward in terms of diversification of our economy and innovation.
Thank you. Javan?
Well, in terms of policymakers and our administrations, I believe that in anything or any issue that you want to solve, there should be a clear strategy. In the issue of youth empowerment and economically empowering the youth and building that entrepreneurial environment for them to thrive, I believe that an administration should set out a clear strategy to deal with the things that would improve that environment for the youth. So we speak about things like the education of the youth in terms of building that entrepreneurial culture. We speak about access to finance for our youth entrepreneurs. Governments could do so through the regulatory systems and through the different policies that they put in place. You have, like you said, networking and accessing. Give the youth the access it is that they need. All right, give the youth that opportunity to network, and the youth themselves need to take it upon their own to network and build that network that they need. We also have technology, investments in technology, where it is that the world is supposed to be moving, where it is that entrepreneurs will be allowed or will be able to be innovative, and knowing that there is the infrastructure that they can do these things. So I believe that a clear strategy should be put in place, not just say that you're going to do it. Put it on paper, make a plan, and then work towards that plan, because that is the only way you will get rid of an issue, and it is an issue. Youth unemployment is a major issue, and I believe that any administration, any organization, make that strategy and deal with the empowerment of our youth.
Nicely said.
Yeah.
What about you, Dinel?
And for me, I'd just like to encourage all the young people to know that success is your duty. Your future isn't necessarily promised unless you create it. So using those words, you really have to grab onto every single thing that you have available at this moment and stop being just a mindless consumer, but become a prosumer. Become someone who uses the resources that they have available and creates amazing things that other people can use, not just in St. Lucia, not just in the Caribbean, but globally. Don't be afraid to think big, because you are only limited by your mindset.
Wow, that's powerful. So thank you for that. Thank you for joining us today. And again, we have Dinelle Florius from Eco Carib. We have Jemima Harrigan.
Yes.
No, the name of the Harrigan, yes. The owner and the creative director of House of Gem. And we have Javan Lewis, economist at the Ministry of Finance, part of the Research and Policy Unit. Good evening, viewers. Thank you for joining us today. You can continue sending your questions on. We will answer them via our own platforms the way that we can, possibly. So this was the second youth dialogue, which really focused on economic empowerment through youth-led enterprise and job diversification. I was your moderator today. This event was sponsored by Massey Stores and Event St. Lucia. And thank you for having us on today. Thank you very much. This was an honor. This was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Boom, 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 boom. Hey, St. Lucia. It's me, Hollywood HB, and I'm here to fully endorse this message brought to you by the St. Lucia National Youth Council alongside the St. Lucia Electoral Department about the importance of voting. You see, as long as you are qualified, it is your democratic right to vote. It is your vote that will make a change. It is your vote that will brighten the future for you and for me and the entire country. So go out there and check out the campaign right now. Log on to all the social media platforms. The St. Lucia National Youth Council alongside the St. Lucia Electoral Department. All the information that you desire is right there sitting, waiting for you. Let's go out there and vote, because we, the youth of this nation, have the empowerment to make a difference. Let us vote. Boom.